so they call.
Can you repeat that?
And
Can you repeat that, please? They have
uh,
an old saying.
according to the old CCP saying,
Yes.
there are three stages, and it forms a cycle. And that is stage one. They
Yes.
say if people obtains too much freedom,
Yes.
uh, that would lead to instabilities in the form of social unrest and riots.
Now, do you think
And
that
when that
instability?
happens,
Do you
and
think
when that
it?
happens,
Yes.
that is stage two. And when that happens, CCP would have no choice but to send out to use some very extreme measures, such as sending out militaries and so on to
Right.
suppress them, to break down the riots and take away their freedoms
Right.
to restore stability again.
Like Tiananmen Square
Okay,
in 1989.
that's right. Okay, that's right. The in Mandarin words they say, when you release them, set them free, give
Yes.
them freedom,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they will become riot and destabilize the society. And the
Now,
only way to regain stability
uh-huh.
is to send out the militaries
Okay.
to suppress them, to kill them,
Oh, now
shoot them down.
I would like you to
Okay,
revisit some of those words that you've just used.
sure.
One of those words was stability.
Yes,
And in other words, stability is more important than freedom of the people. Now,
that's
what
right.
does stability translate as? It translates as dictatorial, monarchical, or
That's right.
feudal control.
Correct.
So there's nothing. The stability is not the point here at all.
The
That's that.
stability is not a point. In my opinion, they use quote unquote stability as an alibi and as an excuse to
Yeah,
suppress their people's freedom.
yeah. In
Or
other words,
even
yeah,
even just in the name of stability, they use that to strip these average, everyday, common people's fundamental rights,
now here,
all in the name of freedom.
here,
And you
yes,
are extremely correct about the fact that that is exactly the alibis, the reasoning behind the 1989 June 4th Tiananmen Square massacre.
right on. Now here, I'd like to diverge a little bit, but not very far, and point out the power of words, the power
Mhm,
of concepts. It's just
mhm,
like a paintbrush. You can have a
mhm,
red, you can have a pink,
mhm,
you can have a white.
mhm.
Those are different colors, right? They have different
Right,
feelings, they have different emotions,
right,
they have a different meanings. You can call it stability, you can call it oppression, you can call it
right.
dictatorship. It depends on the color on your paintbrush.
Yeah,
Okay? But if you're using words like paint, then you're manipulating reality. The point here is that words have power and they
that's right.
directly connect to the minds of the listeners of those
Yeah,
words. And if people actually believe that that enunciated word,
yeah,
stability, refers
yeah,
to something beneficial,
yeah.
they're doomed.
Mhm.
But if they believe that that word stability refers to something oppressive, then they have the chance to think for themselves and achieve freedom through a counteraction.
Right.
In other words, they can see that they're in a coop. They can see that they're behind a prison bar. They can see that they're being constrained and restricted. And they can understand for the first time that there's an alternative. There's a choice. You don't
Yeah,
have to just assume that stability is the desired effect that should be achieved at all times.
sure.
That's absolute nonsense. If you're
Yeah,
in a situation where stability requires obedience to a
yeah,
totalitarian, oppressive overlord.
yeah.
Okay, and that's the problem. And
Mhm,
by the way, it's not confined to the situation in Asia over the years.
mhm.
You know what? We live it here. We live it here every
Yeah,
day. And there's a
yeah.
famous French philosopher by the name of Marcuse who enunciated this concept very well. He said that He was French, by the way. Did I say that? He said that, the difference between Western democracy and Eastern totalitarianism is that in the East, he was referring to West Germany and Russia, most people know that they're being lied to by their governments. Most
Right.
people know that they're being oppressed by, secret police, unfair laws, uh, being arrested in the middle of the night if you said something publicly that was unacceptable, or if you did something. In other words, there's a complete control mechanism in your society that you're aware of,
Right.
and the only way you can deal with it is through covert means. You can have underground economies. You can have escape channels. You can have a Berlin Wall tunnel. you know, I mean, these people know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Now, juxtapose that with Western people.
Hmm.
They haven't got a clue.
Nope.
And you know why? Because they're being stupefied. And that's the
That's
word
right.
Marcuse used, by things like Hollywood entertainments,
Hmm.
internet propagandas,
Hmm.
material luxuries.
Yep.
Don't complain, just drive the new car.
That's
Don't
right.
realize that your children went missing. Just have the latest fashions and listen to the pop music. Don't
That's right.
become spiritual. Go to our pop concerts full of satanic symbolism and images.
That's right.
In other words, celebrate your own
Demise.
defeat and demise unconsciously.
That's right.
That is the diaspora of Western civilization. And that's the problem that we face. And that's the problem we have to escape from. And you know what? People in the East and perhaps in China to this day have a much easier road to travel
Hmm.
on because they can see what's happening. They know what's happening. And the only thing that keeps them in check is force militarily or police or violent or in other
Yeah.
words you're locked down, you get food in a box and that's it, and if you try to
That's
fight
right.
back you're going to get shot, okay?
That's right.
Now in the West we do it a little bit differently. It's called the velvet glove over the fist. It's a kind of control mechanism which is subtle,
Hmm.
it's deep, it's Freudian, it's psychological. It's mind control to the nth degree.
That's right.
What now? It's not that Asian people are not aware of those things as well. It's just that historically it hasn't been used that well,
That's right.
that way. It's
Right.
been more violent. In other words, for example, during the Boxer Rebellion, dissidents had their heads chopped off and put on pikes and for
Hmm.
public display,
That's right.
right? And during the Opium Wars, when the British caught somebody they didn't like, they would strap them to the front of a cannon and execute them by cannonball. Okay.
Right.
In other words, there's two ways to control people:
Yep.
covert and overt.
Hmm.